He is on top 100 list, but because he spent time on the Major League IL last year, he has too much service time to qualify, even though that does not disqualify him from being Rookie of the Year.
This is a well-known name, especially for Yankees fans. Jasson Domínguez, prospect profile time. Baseball America's JJ Cooper and Geoff Pontes with me, Scott Braun. Let's talk about the Martian. JJ, what do you see? What have we learned, right? Because we've seen a little bit of big league time from him already, too.
The good news, if you're a Yankees fan, is I felt like the first couple of weeks of spring training, it was all about Jasson Domínguez defense, Jasson Domínguez defense. Man, look how bad Jasson Domínguez defense is. We haven't seen that as much lately, which is good because the Yankees really need Jasson Domínguez to step in and really be a solid fixture in this lineup. You know, this is a team that's already kind of sustained some injuries. They don't have, I would say, as much depth as, say, the Orioles or the Red Sox, or maybe even, maybe the Rays in the division. So they need someone like Jasson Domínguez to really step up. I think we're pretty confident that he's going to contribute offensively in multiple ways. It's hard to believe he's only 22 years old. I mean, it feels like he's like, 32 at this point? Because we've been talking about him since basically, leading up to his 16th birthday. So it feels like it's longer than it is. But he's only 22. And he does have I would say, Geoff, a very well-rounded offensive skill set. He gets on base. There's some power. There's surprising speed when you consider kind of his body type and all. But when I look at it, I just feel like this is the guy who is going to be a very good complementary player. And I mean that in the best way possible. You don't expect him to be your cleanup hitter this year, but do expect him to get on base, to score runs, to drive in runs, to show some power, and should hit for average as well. There's a lot here to like. Just don't expect him to be the Yankees' savior in 2025, because that's asking maybe a little bit too much for a 22-year-old.
Yeah, and I think that's always been the thing with Domínguez is it's just, how detached from reality, have the expectations been, since before even this guy signed. And I think, kudos to him with a lot of lesser prospects have collapsed with, some of the weight of the comps that this guy was getting, the Mickey Mantles and the Aaron Judges and Mike Trouts and that sort of thing. So I think to some extent when it comes to Domínguez, it's always been like, oh, he's overrated, he's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, he is a really well-rounded prospect. There is power here. There's on-base ability, and he's a switch hitter. And I think if things go really well for Domínguez and for the Yankees in 2025, at some point this season, he'll ascend to sort of that leadoff role, which I think Austin Wells has kind of tapped into at this point. But ideally, having a guy who gets on base, who can run a little bit, who does have power and is a switch hitter is kind of an ideal spot for a leadoff guy. So, we'll see if if that sort of materializes. There's always been question marks, I think, about the defense dating back to kind of the midpoint of last season when he returned. I don't know if there's been as much skepticism about his ability to get on base, hit for power. Just the overall offensive profile, I think, kind of gets a little bit underrated. It's funny how, it feels like just the public narrative is always, Yankees prospects get overrated. In the same regard, I think that, certain flaws of theirs can be a little bit overstated. And, there's certain elements of their game and strengths that go a little bit underrated. I think it kind of happened to Aaron Judge as well. He had an unusual path to the major leagues that had, a fair amount of injuries on his way up. So I think when you look at all that stuff overall, I think that, this is a really good player, a really good prospect still. And somebody that, I think will be a key contributor for the Yankees this year if things do go well and he stays healthy.
So let me lay this out, though. Jasson Domínguez, let's say he has an incredible year this year. He's American League Rookie of the Year. He is a top 100 prospect on everyone's top 100 prospects list. So that would seem to indicate that then he could earn the Yankees a draft pick, a prospect performance promotion incentive pick, a PPI pick. But he can't, and it's really kind of weird because he is Rookie of the Year eligible. He is on top 100 list, but because he spent time on the Major League IL last year, he has too much service time to qualify, even though that does not disqualify him from being Rookie of the Year. It's really weird. but that's what the reality of it is. So the one bad news is no matter how good Dominguez is this year, he cannot earn the Yankees a PPI pick.
Wow. I think he'll take the service time trade-off, right? Yeah, for
Yankees
him
might not, but he
personally.
will.
Exactly, right? He's hoping to have a long career, and the name of the game, you get to free agency as quick as possible, or obviously if things end up working out and he signs an extension. So let's finish with this. Global perspective. JJ, how do we feel about the Yankees farm system right now?
It's been a little beat up. Obviously, Spencer Jones kind of took a step back last year. The key thing, and the thing that I would say that is really exciting for the Yankees is we just keep getting a lot of positive feedback, a lot of input from scouts to say, just keep moving George Lombard Jr. up on those lists. You know, if you look at his stats, if you look at the slash lines and all that, you may go, really? But no, it's real. You saw him play more than you would normally see a Class A player play in big league games. I think that's intentional. I think that you could see him be one of the breakout prospects of 2025 here in the minor leagues.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. Lombard was one of the guys that got, the most helium and sort of buzz over the offseason. That continued out in Florida. And I think, just seeing him on a field, he looks bigger, stronger, faster. The swing looks a little bit more cleaned up from what we saw last spring. And I thought he was an impressive player last spring in my initial looks. So, the Yankees don't play a lot of backfield games. But and he was not involved in many of those. And if he was, it was going to be like AAA games. So, I think this guy's going to be headed for Hudson Valley this year, probably, coming through Somerset pretty quickly.
Okay. And Somerset's AA ball, right? So you're getting close by then. So Yankee fans, you got your next name to follow if you weren't already, based on what he's been doing in spring training too. If you want more on other organizations and their top prospects, a little bit on their farm system, obviously Baseball America is the spot to get yourself a subscription to the website and subscribe to the YouTube channel, podcast-wise. Also, if you want to learn about each org and their top player, we've got these prospect profiles for you. They're all up, so go check them out, and we'll see you on another one.